Away they go then. Basically, GB against the Netherlands. And the Netherlands on the buck station, just angled out towards the middle of the water. The GB boat with Daisy Bellamy in the bow seat in charge of the steering. The Dutch have flown out here.
Yeah, it's interesting that both of them have chosen to give the steers foot to the bowswoman, and the Dutch there just being warned by Gwyn Batten, the umpire, who's saying get over to the Buckinghamshire side. That's where I want you. I want the crews apart, and it allows the crews to then cleanly get into their rhythm. I mean, the Dutch, we've watched them race over the international programme against our British Olympians as well, and these are the top two rowing nations at the moment that you're seeing here. Here at Henley, we see them on the world scene, top two rowing nations, and they're meeting side by side. This is such a contest.
Yeah, great head-to-head. And you can see in the yellow boat, the Mpeka boat, the GB boat, Leander Club Reading University, have kept a pace. We had that flag from the umpire briefly encouraging the Dutch to get onto their buck's side of the water, but that was nothing too dramatic. They've settled it down nicely, and this looks like a very even contest in the early stages.
Yeah, and this is quite exciting because we haven't seen either crew really tested so far at this regatta. They've taken care, if you like, of their opposition well, and you might expect that. They are the top 4 athletes from each country in this discipline, so this is great to see. But again, we've got the Dutch on this side. They've gone out, they're smooth, they're flat, they're picking it up well together.
The geese need to scuttle out the way here because the boats are coming fast.
They're very well trained. They seem to wait for that moment. As an umpire, you're always watching to check that, of course, they're not hurt and they're not in the way, but of course they are used to rowing boats coming past.
Scuttle out the way in time. And here's another flag from the umpire because the boats are getting a little bit close, and it's the Dutch again who are being invited to return to their side of the water. Gwyn Batten just encouraging them to nudge to the left as you look at it on your picture there. The Dutch going a bit too central.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I know how Gwyn thinks about this course. She sort of says 1 metre away from the boom is fine, 2 metres is probably too far. So she'll be looking out to make sure that those tips of the oars are around 1.5 metres from the booms, and she'll be content that the Dutch are in their lane, on their station there. And as you can hear, she's warning them again.
They're in the lead just, and that means that they could disrupt the flow of the GB boat with some puddles firing back in the direction. At the moment, they're just about okay, aren't they? But the umpire got a firm grip of it here.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? She really wants to make sure that there is safe and fair racing, and that, you know, that you look at this Dutch boat, and I actually watched them race earlier, and it looks like sometimes that they're twisting as they go along, and maybe that's causing them a few problems with the steering. You can see a little bit of wash coming there from a pleasure cruiser, and again, that can move the boat. So Gwyn will be making sure that they are aware of that and making sure they stay online with that. But let's look at the rowing again. We've seen the British squad, they're holding on to this. They've been down for the most half of this race, but they're holding on to it, and they're pressing, but the crews are coming together.
Look, they're going to be asked again to get back. In fact, the GB boat is both crews now, isn't it, who need to split. Look at how close those blades are coming to clashing.
Yeah, very clear. Both crews to move apart, and now Gwyn is moving Leander onto the Buckingham side. Of course, every time they have to steer, they're putting on the brake, if you like, because the steerswoman at the bow seat has to move her foot, and the rudder goes on, and it does slow them down. This is a really interesting race.
Well, it's interesting.
And it's a contest for the umpire.
It's a great race, but again, they're getting close together, and the Dutch now right across, and they'll surely be asked to, they're being asked again to get back. It's big pressure here in a big race. I'm watching Daisy Bellamy in the bow seat. She's in charge of the steering for GB. Heidi Long, Lauren Irwin and Eve Stewart. Loads of experience. Daisy Bellamy, the youngster, the relative newcomer to this boat, will be relishing this experience. Great experience for her.
Yeah, it's great to see her back in the boat, isn't it? We saw her miss out on a World Cup, being ill, and so
Tonsillitis.
Tonsillitis. Well, there you go. You had more data than I did. I knew she'd been on there, but she'll be wanting to grab this opportunity. As will the Dutch, so they have got ahead, and they've got that advantage in this gladiatorial course, side-by-side racing. It can feel when you're ahead that you just have all the moves to make, and that's what the Dutch will be looking to do.
Yes, I had the advantage of breakfast with Daisy Bellamy's parents and partner earlier, so every detail gleaned there. Here come the Dutch, and you always enjoy watching the Dutch and their rowing. So the technique there, great example of what Dutch rowing's all about.
Yes, I really do always talk around it, how they pick it up and just use it in this sort of long, loose, lazy style, but they've got to watch on their steering. I think, again, you'll be hearing Gwyn Batten sort of asking them to move back to their station, and that white flag is absolutely indicating that.
It's busy in that umpire launch, and again, they're going to need to be asked again. Look how close these blades are getting now. This is getting perilously close. There's overlap there, and fortunately, from a race point of view, the GB boat trails just enough that there isn't a clash, but they were overlapping there. The Dutch are shifting again, and the GB boat, Leander Club Reading University, they've got to go now, haven't they?
Yeah, and we've got two things going on here, haven't we? The Dutch boat is clearly moving over, and that's creating wash for the GB boat, which Gwyn will not be happy about. And I don't know if there's a fear from the Dutch boat to put their rudder on properly and get out of that lane, or whether it's actually twisting round. But this is going to be a real problem for Gwyn in a minute.
So we've only got 100 metres of the race left. GB trying to get back into it. The Dutch boat going out to the right. GB making a move. Here come the blades very close. The Dutch now responding with their own turn of pace as they head to the finish line. This is the Town Challenge Cup. Leander Club and Reading University to the left of your picture, trailing the Dutch. The Dutch driving home, but big questions about the way they've steered down the course there. Over the line they go. And the umpires had to get involved. Gwyn Batten now, what happens?
Well, looking there, she's given a white flag. She, I imagine, is not happy, but she hasn't thought it's changed the outcome of the race. There was no appeal, actually, from the Leander Club and Reading boat, although they now have put that hand up. Well spotted. Daisy Bellamy there doing that. And what they will be saying to the umpires, we want to have a conversation. Now, Gwyn has white flagged it, but she's moving over, and she'll have a conversation. I wonder if we're a little bit quiet, whether we can hear them. And hear her as she has that conversation.
Let's do some eavesdropping. It's not easy to lodge an appeal when you're exhausted, is it? When you're as breathless as that, but eloquently put.
And you can absolutely hear that they're suggesting that the steering of the Dutch made a difference for them and the way their boat was able to move.
Let's see what the umpire decision is.
I suspect we might see Gwyn coming back to the boat. She's
looks like
actually,
a red flag to me.
She's furling it, I think. So she has probably said to them that that it isn't going to change the outcome, and what she's doing is putting that away for the next umpire,
what a tease
not
that
showing it. But great camera work that we get right in there in the boat.
Yeah, that red flag, she picked it up and turned her back on the boat. That's the flag we were anticipating, a white flag. And the result stands then. It's the Dutch who win the Town Challenge Cup.
Look at that, Tim. That is what we're talking about. Look how close. But the GB boat as well is well over off their station. So what's happened is the crews have come together, and Gwyn at that stage may or may not have chosen to umpire the behind boat.
If the Leander boat and Reading University boat had been a bit tighter on the Dutch boat in terms of distance back,